Episode 12, dealing with major obstacles in our life. You ready to do this thing?
Yeah, I'm ready, man. I think it's a perfect opportunity to kind of discuss what we got going on now. You know, we got some current obstacles going on now, and then kind of recap and go back in time on where we've came from and what we started with, you know, maybe 5-10 years ago on some obstacles we were dealing with at the time.
Yeah, it's so funny. We were laughing about, life is moving so fast for me, and it's amazing. I joke about me having all these rich people problems, like complaining about moving into my new house or getting my master's degree online and not having enough time to do anything else. But this past week has been really crazy because I've been complaining so much about how much I do school that when I got this spring break last week, I was so happy to be like, man, what am I going to do with my life? I'm so busy going to school. I just don't know what I was going to do. And it was like last week was 10 times harder than any of my school weeks because I was just all over the place. I was just trying to survive. My wife texted me today because she was tripping, dude. We're putting a new vanity in Liam's bathroom, and she had measured the thing like a million times to make sure it was exactly the right width. We had the bathroom already painted, so she just wanted to upgrade. The vanity's like 20 years old. We bought the vanity. The carpenter goes in to installs it today, and it's 2 inches too high. So the carpenter has to pull the entire mirror out. Literally, he's got to pull that. It's going to affect the wall, so he's gonna have to replaster the entire wall, and we got to figure out how we're going to put a new mirror in after he installs it. And she starts to get upset about it, because she's like, it never goes the way you want it, and like, I don't know what this is going to cost, like, and so I have to kind of calm her down, it's like that yin to the yang, sometimes she's got to do that for me, but I have to calm her down, like, I'm at this point with all these house projects this last week, like, I just get all these obstacles are going to keep coming up. Like, in a perfect world, if it goes the way I envision it, freaking high fives, chest bumps, let's do it. But let's just assume and start believing that was going to happen. Like, that thing, like, it didn't surprise me when she told me that we were going to have to replace the mirror, because that's how it's been. So as soon as I started to accept that, it's just calmed my anxiety a little bit more with some of the issues we've had to deal at the house.
Yeah, when, my girls sometimes deal with stuff like that, my go-to is always like, hey, control what you can control and don't worry about things you can't. Because at the end of the day, if you're so worked up on something that's out of your control, it's going to do nothing but get you more anxiety, get you more flustered, get, more pressure on yourself to try to make up for it and fix it when there's nothing you can do about it.
Sure. And I know, listen, both of us, it sounds like we have mastered that. We're not perfect. We deal with those situations too. So we need our girls, we need other people to remind us of that. What's helped me a lot, and we're going to go through some crazy stories we have, some funny stories about how we've had to deal and learn through some tough experiences in our own life, is really just like detaching the emotion away from it a little bit. Emotions are good. They help us sense that something's wrong. But for me, I don't want to be a stoic. I don't want to be a guy who doesn't have emotions. But when those emotions are overcoming me, I have to separate from them for a while to kind of walk it out, think of something completely different, do something completely different, and then be in that moment to separate myself, like look from an outside in instead of being inside, right?
Yeah, take a step back and look at it almost like a third person. Take a glance at your own life, and like you said, take the emotions out of it, and from the outside looking in, then make a rational decision, a rational, judgment call.
Yeah, and again, it's easier said than done. I think that's where, some of the things we're going to talk about, how support systems are important and perspective and some other things in our life. I think we just do it a little bit better because we've had some harder times in our life to help us, empathize with those situations with our girlfriends or wives or family members and people at the gym that allow us to make that perspective. But we're not perfect. There's no such thing.
Yeah, I think we've just done a decent job at overcoming the previous obstacles to this point. We're almost expecting them to come at this point, and that's a pretty good strength to have, is dealing with some sort of obstacles, overcoming them, and understanding that we're never going to be perfect. So sometime down the road, we're going to get approached with some new ones.
And you were telling me about, because when I met you, you were much older than the college graduate. You're in your senior year. You're like 26 years old, 25, 26.
25, yep.
Which is much older for a college graduate. So, you know, when we got to talking, you had a really interesting story because you didn't, like, from the outside in, people think we have it figured out, right? And so when we tell them these stories, like the one you told me, it's just really interesting how that struggle helped us kind of figure out what we wanted or didn't want to be in the place that we're in today. What, like, if I had to ask you for a synopsis of that struggle you had to in college, you told me at one point you talked to your girlfriend and you're like, dude, I think I'm just gonna quit.
Yeah, I mean, there was numerous occasions where I was contemplating on, you know, hey, is this credential, all right, this bachelor's degree, really worth it? You know, from the start, you know, right out of high school, I didn't really have any college plans. So, you know, I talk about it all the time. The week before I graduated was what I waited to, you know, actually apply for college. And at that point, you know, my friends are going away to school. You know, my parents were kind of, you know, throwing it in the back of my head, hey, you know, you should go to college. That's the right thing to do. But I didn't really, you know, have my mindset or like a vision of me going to college. That's why I waited so long to apply. So, you know, taking it back, a week before graduation, you know, I determined what I was going to do. I was going to go to what was then Edison College. Mm-hmm. Now it's
FSW.
FSW. They changed the name like 3 times.
Yeah, man.
Are you sure it's Florida Southwestern? I heard they changed it again. It's like some IT or something.
They probably just to make it, hey, change the name, you can change the price, bro. That's how it works.
Seriously, I think it's some IT, but I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But I think it's another name at this point.
I bet they did.
So anyways, like that was my only option. I didn't apply for school. You know, just to take it back even farther, my senior year, my school required us to take like a college prep class. Mm-hmm. And part of that college prep class was to apply to college, and I did it. I applied to Florida Atlantic University just to kind of get a grade for that specific college prep class.
Got it.
But I really had no like intention to go there. So I just applied it to get the grade in the class, and then take it back to where I was just talking about that last week before graduation. I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go to Edison. So I'm graduating. I still don't, you know, have a huge idea on what I want to do. So I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go to Edison because that's the right thing to do is go to college. Mm-hmm. So I'm stepping my foot in the college just because that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So I do about a year and a half at Edison, and you know, not to knock the school at all, but it's a community college, right? Yeah. It's a community college. So I have people that, you know, friends that are going to these big top universities that left Naples to pursue something so, you know, you could call bigger and better. And here I am staying in Naples, going to a community college. So, you know, I don't have anything established, a vision established, so I'm kind of feeling down, you know, mm-hmm. and I don't have any direction. So about a year and a half of going through that, of, you know, working for the family's pizzeria, sleeping in late, partying, mm-hmm. you know, I don't have anywhere to go, any, like I said, sense of direction. So I'm feeling a little bit down. So a year and a half passes by. I'm desperate for a change. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm tired of getting knocked, you know, for staying around in Naples, going to community college. Like, I'm desperate for a change. So I relied to my previous, when I applied for FAU, like I told you in the beginning of the class, I actually got accepted, but I had to go during a summer, which is, which is kind of what we talked about. I'll let you get there too. Hey, you can come to our school, but you have to start in the summertime. And I'm like, you know, I wonder, at this point, year and a half into community college, I'm like, hey, I wonder if that, you know, acceptance still pertains to, you know, what I can do now. So I call up FAU, email FAU, I don't remember exactly, but they say, hey, yeah, you know, the acceptance lasts for 3 semesters, which is, I think, a year and a half later, right?
Yeah. So you're right coming on deadline.
Yeah. Oh, I barely made it. So I'm like, whatever, like, let's make some moves. So I had a couple buddies that were kind of in the same region I was, like, hey, let's do something else. Let's get, a change of scenery. So I'm like, you know what, forget it. I'm packing everything I got, and I'm out of here. I'm going to Boca Raton. I'm gonna live over there. So the weekend before school starts, we drive up there. We look at like 3 different places. We talk to a couple realtors. They show us these places. We sign a lease, okay? Place isn't even going to be ready for another week. Mm-hmm. So the school start, like, I'm literally there Saturday. School starts that Monday.
Wow. So
we sign a lease, come back, pack stuff for a week, and I'm sleeping on my boy's couch for the first week of school.
That's crazy.
But, at the same time, I thought it was better than what I was doing.
Yeah.
Felt
like you're moving forward, right?
Yeah. At least I'm out of Naples.
Right.
Like, that's how, like I told you, all my high school classmates were like, hey, you stick around in Naples, it's not a good thing.
It's a good point. Yeah, it was like you weren't doing anything with your life.
Yeah, you weren't making moves.
There's definitely a pressure, for sure, to leave Naples after graduation.
Yeah, exactly. And so, whatever, I literally, fast forward, I lasted a semester at FAU. I get there, I was so desperate for a time of change that I just made like an irrational decision, and like I didn't even know what major I wanted there.
Yeah.
I still at this point don't have any direction. So I'm really not much farther than I was right out of high school, staying in Naples. I probably should have just stayed the whole time and kind of, figured out. So anyways, I'm burning through my financial aid. Like, my parents paid Florida prepaid. Mm-hmm. So at this point, I'm about 2 years into college with not too much to show for it. Like, I have some prerequisite classes knocked out of the way, but some aren't even pertaining to the major that, I eventually got. Okay, so I'll get there down in a little bit down the road. So I'm taking these classes, don't know what I want to do, and I'm 2 schools in at this point, and I realized that, FAU wasn't for me. So, and just backtrack a little bit. I'm traveling back to Naples every weekend. So I'm going to school Monday through Friday, and I'm driving back to Naples every weekend because I was talking to a girl back in Naples at the time, and then my little brother, senior year of high school, I wanted to watch him, ball out in his football game and stuff. So, like, I was in such a rush to leave Naples, yet I'm still traveling back every weekend.
Very interesting, yeah.
So I'm like, semester in, I'm butting heads with some roommates. I'm like, hey, this isn't for me. I'm going to go back to Naples. So when I was so desperate to get out of Naples, I catch myself 2 years later going back in, back to square one. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to stop burning through Florida prepaid, and I'm going to take a semester off. I'm not going to, really do anything. I'm just going to kind of clear my thoughts, evaluate some sort of direction I want to get to.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, go from there. So I end up getting certified as a personal trainer. All right.
Just because you had just been training a lot, and you kind of, like, where did that come from?
Yeah, when I got back, I had a decent amount of free time, and my buddy at the time was opening up this that corporate gym.
Uh-huh.
He got a front desk job at his corporate gym.
Okay.
So he's getting me in for free guest pass because he works there. So me and him are training, and he's really been into fitness like long before I have. Like, okay. He was really big in football and stuff like that. So he's like kind of, hey, picking me up, saying, hey, let's go work out, and I got to give him credit to this day. He got me on the fitness train and kind of started digging me out of this hole I was in. So I found fitness, right?
Wow.
So at this point, I'm just, I've worked out in high school, stuff like that. I've trained for football. Right. It's, basically powerlifting and explosive stuff just to get better at the sport. But now it's like, hey, I'm doing this. I'm feeling better. I'm starting to look better. I'm developing more confidence. So I'm, working out with him, and then the training director approaches both of us. He's like, hey, you know what? I need personal trainers. I see you guys in here working out. Are you interested in going to get certified and then coming back and working for us? At the time, I had nothing else. I said, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I basically had a job
before
awesome. I was even certified, right? So I'm like, let's do it. And, yeah, man, so I was just working for this gym. Now that I'm just kind of, like, reminiscing, like, fitness kind of saved me.
For sure, because it started to provide a little bit of purpose, something that was making you happy, and now you can do it and make money doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's definitely a passion forming at this time. So I'm certified as a trainer.
You're still going to school?
Nah, this is still my semester off.
Got
right?
it.
This is still my semester off. So, anyways, I do maybe 2 months as a trainer, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I'm starting to find myself again. So I kind of determined like, hey, I'm gonna go back to school. I got 2 years in. Let's see what I can do. So I applied for FGCU. I got into FGCU. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go to finish out my degree there. I can either move up there or live at home. Like, it's not too much pressure to do either because it's not far away. It's only 30 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, okay, so I move up to FGCU. I'm going to school there. I set my major, which is probably my fourth or fifth major at this point, right?
You and everybody else.
So I changed. So at this point, I'm 3 schools in, and 4 to 5 majors changed. So I do a year there, and this is during that big basketball run. So
oh yeah, that was huge. This is when they make it into the
Sweet 16.
The Sweet 16, yeah.
So I mean, things are starting to look up at this point. I'm about a year in of being a trainer. I'm at a school that's giving me that college experience at this point.
Yeah, you're really feeling that because you're close, but you're away. The campus is bigger. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I wasn't getting that at Edison because it's a community college.
Yep.
And then I wasn't there long enough at FAU to really experience the college experience because I wasn't there long enough. I didn't make too much friends. Like, I had some friends from high school there, but if they weren't doing anything that night to go out, I wasn't. So anyways, things are looking up. So I'm about in my junior year of school at this point, but it's like my 4th year of college, right? And I finish my prerequisites and I'm ready to start this major that I'm pretty sure I want to get this major. It was sports management at the time. It's what I actually graduated with. Mm-hmm. So I finished my prereqs and then I have a meeting with my advisor and they tell me that you can't move on to your major because the passing grades you got for your prerequisites weren't high enough for your overall GPA.
So you got to take it again?
I had to retake classes I already passed. Yeah.
I quit. And this is when I'm like, dude,
this
I
is
quit.
where I'm like, listen, do I really need this? And at this point, I'm finding some direction in training, like, hey, this fitness thing, do I need a college degree for it?
Right.
I can do this fitness thing without a college degree. Like, is it really worth it? And I'm a year away, and that was probably the closest I've ever been to saying, hey, I'm done. I'm not going to retake classes already passed. And that's where that conversation comes up with my girl. Like, hey, I don't think I'm going to pass. Like, I don't think I'm going to continue this school. I'm wasting money. Like, I'm not even sure the degree I'm going to use it.
Right. Obstacle after obstacle, dude. Like,
dude, straight up. And so she kind of talks me off the ledge. Like, hey, you're a year away. Like, you're gonna stop now. After everything you went through for 4 or 5 years. And I'm like, whatever. I'm gonna bite the bullet. So at this point, I ran out of Florida prepaid.
Oh.
So I'm paying my own tuition now. I'm working. I'm paying my own tuition. And let me tell you, I definitely took classes a lot more serious when I was paying for it.
When it's coming out of your own pocket.
Mm-hmm. So she talks me off the ledge. I'm paying. Long story short, I retook some classes I passed. I ended up getting A's in them. It's my second time around, and I'm actually applying myself more. And then, about 2 years at FGCU, I've graduated with your help for the internship. That was my last 3 credits.
Wow.
Was intern at your gym.
And you earned every single credit, dog. I made you work.
Yeah, and then
How did you find us again?
The college advisor.
Okay.
College advisor. You popped up on the FGCU website.
But, like, it's so funny because you're dealing with all these obstacles, right? And, like, I say this, like, our program, like, the core of our program is CrossFit. And coming out of a commercial gym you, did, there was, a mental obstacle you had to work through to even be okay with taking an internship for a CrossFit gym. Did you ever think about that?
I did. To be honest, I was not familiar with CrossFit at all, and I kind of just saw the stuff that's some negative stuff that's on social.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like, it's
commercial gym. It's not cool. Like, you can't
don't run
away doing that there.
No, exactly. At a commercial gym, CrossFit is the complete opposite end of the totem pole.
Right.
And to be honest, my approach going into it is, hey, stay open-minded, give it a shot, and like I said, I was a previous athlete in high school, so I'm like, hey, let's see if that competitive edge comes back out, And then worst case scenario, you've known this from the start, I eventually want to open up my own facility. So I'm like, hey, I can learn some gym stuff, some operations and stuff.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I'm 3 months there, and I learn a thing or two, and I could take that with me.
And so were like some of those attributes or that stuff that you had been learning the last few years trying to if I were to say, what did you ultimately get out of that? Like there was no clear path, right? We initially started the convo with like my wife thinking there is a clear path to how things are supposed to get done, and when they don't, it causes this inner turmoil that can eventually lead to, having issues with other people and the conversations we have. So how, like ultimately, like looking back, what was the biggest thing you learned from all that?
That, I just noticed, firsthand, my mindset when I first, lost any sense of direction to towards the end when I was getting, thrown more and more obstacles, that like, hey, I've been this far already. Obviously my road is not supposed to be easy, and I kind of, sat back and looked at it in that perspective. Like, hey, you already went through hell and back. Why are you going to stop now? Get the job done. And once I, kind of, looked at it like that, I was just aware of the fact that like, hey, just stay on path, do what you got to do to get it done. It's not supposed to be an easy route.
And that not supposed to be an easy route is just the process to improvement. Like, that is the process.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's exactly how I looked at it. It was part of the process, but as long as I was progressing,
right,
I was still on the track.
Right, because you're moving forward.
I'm moving forward. I'm not going backwards. I'm not at a standstill.
Yeah.
Like, hey, the class I got to retake, it friggin' sucks in that I got to retake class I already passed, but hey, once you pass them, with a better grade, you're that much closer to the end goal, which is the degree.
That's really good, man. Yeah, that's really good. And I think what I'm trying to teach my wife is that it's okay. Like, all right, let's rip the mirror out. Like, it's not the end of the world, right? And that too, like, maybe be careful not trying to imagine what your perfect path is. Like, the only thing really we care about is that we achieve the final goal in which we all said we were trying to achieve. And with what we were talking about in sport, it's really easy to define the process of what is success as the process. And for us, it's the ultimate championship, the state title. It's winning the weightlifting competition at the heaviest load. It's running the fastest mile that you possibly can. In life, that's a little bit trickier to define because it's relative. How you define success is completely different for me than it is for somebody else. And no matter what we define that is, if that's the thing that we believe is going to make us happy, don't trip out about how we get there, because our stories are very similar in that we really, like according to that perfect path, you and I did not take it. Mm-hmm. The graduate, get into, at 18, get into a D1 university, do your 4 years, don't change your major, get the
nice
dream job
right after,
buy the house, get the wife, had the kids. Like, that somewhere is ingrained in us. Mm-hmm. And so when we were younger and we weren't following that path, we struggled a little bit. Like, why is that not happening to me? I want that. And then us trying to just kind of navigate it our own way. Ultimately, we still got all the things that everyone else did, or that everyone else shot for, following that perfect, quote, perfect path. We just did it differently.
Yeah, if our listeners can kind of approach it as consistent improvement instead of just the end goal, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel, I feel like we'll be able to deal with obstacles that much more, a lot more better, if we just focus on staying on track and kind of chipping away on our vision, chipping away, just kind of dealing with the cards we're dealt, but just focus on steps towards the right direction.
Right. Yeah, and if it feels like that you're moving forward, then we're okay. Like, you had the vision, and then go A, B, C, D, and went from A to D back to C. Like, you're okay. Like, and we're still making the check marks to complete our vision. So, yeah, that's a good one, man. I think what we'll do on the next episode is catch up on how the similar stories we have, which is crazy because we can literally just switch names and have the same different paths, just different locations.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm looking forward to hearing yours. I want to kind of nitpick on, some, experiences you had, what got you where you're at. And like you just said, we're so similar, man. That's why I think we click so good.
Yeah, we connect. Yeah,
we've been there, we've done that, and it's just like you said, switching names, man. And we've been through it. Very very similar situations.
Cool. Thank you guys. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon.
Later.